Hey, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here. I don't have a lot to say about the AEW versus NXT Monday Night Wars. Oh, I guess it's not Monday. Fuck it. Wednesday Night Wars. It is what it is. I apologize. I don't have a lot to say about it. I did watch a lot of highlight videos about things that are going down. I did watch mostly all of the clips that they uploaded onto Twitter. Definitely for me, the story of the night more than anything else was Finn Balor returning to NXT. Of course, at SummerSlam, Finn Balor was destroyed by the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. That was one way of getting the Fiend over as being a real threat in WWE. He was no longer the Bray Wyatt character that we had known in the past. This was something new. He was a new kind of evil. Definitely people were in shock and awe as Bray walked down to the ring and just picked Finn Balor apart. Finn Balor, in my mind, is one of the reasons that I stick with wrestling. I think most people have seen that I've really just mostly... I don't have the same love for it, but I do believe in Finn Balor. I believe like if you're a fan of a basketball team, you're a fan of a football team, a baseball team, and you have some sort of a draft pick or some sort of blue chip prospect coming up through the minors, that you're like, man, if we can just fight through these seasons, when we get to the point this guy comes up, he's going to be a star. I mean, definitely they saw something. Finn Balor, his debut night on Monday Night Raw, he wins a fatal 4-way. The next week he comes back, he beats Roman Reigns. He shows up at his first pay-per-view, which is SummerSlam. He wins the Universal Championship. He just happens to come down with an injury. Lots of guys involved with wrestling get injured. It's not Finn Balor's fault that somebody's thought this guy's going to be a huge star, pushed him to the moon, and then when they pushed him, he got hurt. He had to rehab. He missed WrestleMania. He shortly came back, but he returned after WrestleMania, what was that, 32? And here we are 4 years later, and Finn he got a shot. He had a match against Brock Lesnar to go after the Universal Championship. He's probably been involved in some Monday Night Raw, Fatal 4-Ways or something like that to go after it. He's been in some Money in the Bank matches, but he's never really been anything other than, you know, that kind of mid-card, maybe, almost like a Cesaro kind of type where, you know, if they need somebody to main event Raw, they can call on Finn Balor. He's a believable guy that, you know, people like me will be like, this is the night they're going to remember that this guy was awesome in New Japan. He was in the Bullet Club. You know, he blew it up. He was a big star for NXT. They're gonna strap a rocket to him, and it honestly just doesn't happen. So last night on NXT, Finn Balor, I guess you can say, drops himself down. Some people are reporting it as being sent back to NXT. I think that what it comes down to is that NXT is a newly branded show. It's now on the USA. I think that they feel that, like, it's moving from the WWE Network. It's moving over to being on mainstream cable television. You need more eyes on it. Finn Balor, definitely a star in WWE. He definitely is one of the best merch movers with the Balor Club items that there is in WWE. They produce lots of merch for it. People buy it, so he's got to have fans. Maybe that's one of the reasons why somebody's going to tune into NXT and see a guy like Matt Riddle, see a guy like Adam Cole, see a guy on the roster, and, you know, just say, I want to see more of Pete Dunne or anybody that was on that show last night. You just need to move things over. The one things I kind of can draw a line to is it reminds me a lot of when ECW was brought back as a new brand on Sci-Fi in like 2005. And Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar and Rob Van Dam were drafted to that show. Of course, if you're going to start an ECW company, Rob Van Dam is definitely a must-see guy. When you think of ECW, you think of Sabu, you think of our Rob Van Dam, you think of Taz, the Sandman. the Dudleys. These are the guys that people want to see if you're bringing back ECW. I think by the time ECW is rebranded as a new show, the Dudleys were already involved in TNA. Taz had retired from wrestling and become an announcer, so they put him on that show. But, you know, Rob Van Dam, Sabu, Sandman, you know, they might bring people in for one night for that nostalgia kind of feeling, but you need something to really bring people back. And Big Show and Kurt Angle were at their points of their career where they weren't really breaking the needle on Monday Night Raw, but if you put them on ECW on a new brand, you might get some eyes on there to see those stars. To me, Big Show never really was anything that, you know, must-see television went down, but Kurt Angle was one of the best wrestlers there was in the company, and him taking on this new attitude of kind of being like a shoot fighter for ECW was kind of entertaining. Finn Balor going back to NXT, I think is just kind of a new way to freshen up that show, freshen him up, give that name value. Even if it was only for one night, he is a former Universal Champion for WWE. And then him having matchups to guys like Matt Riddle, having matchups against guys like Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. That's something that make you lick your lips. I know that when Finn Balor was in NXT, they used to have him wrestle on television a lot because he was somebody that you really saw as being a star and you wanted to see more of him. Shinsuke Nakamura was just like that when he was in NXT as well. It seemed like Nakamura had a match on NXT, even if it was just a who cares jobber match that you really didn't care about at all. It was Shinsuke Nakamura, and you had to see what was going to happen to just see more of him because we had never really seen anything like that coming over from New Japan Wrestling. Finn's going to be a star there. He's definitely going to be the guy that pushes it. Finn was a star in NXT before he won the championship. I think that even though he's there, it's not a lock that he's going to be the NXT champion and carry that brand. I wouldn't be surprised if... That's a bad place to put it, but the one thing that came to my mind was a lot like when Ultimate Warrior was going to be the WWF champion, but Hulk Hogan was going to be the draw. I'm hoping I'm not painting that picture that Finn Balor is past his prime or retiring. I think that Finn should be the marquee guy. He should be right up there. I'm not one to say that he should be wrestling as the Demon each and every night, but I understand why they market the Demon. He is like on all the backpacks, all the lunch boxes, most of the items that WWE puts out for sale. When they put just, I don't want to say a roster shot, but when you put your 4 or 5 guys, Finn Balor as a Demon is almost always on there. So he is a very recognizable name in the company that, you know, for, you know, Triple H to walk into a meeting where basically they're going to be splitting up the brands. You know, they don't really have a draft to bring guys. You know, Triple H is just kind of the guy who normally takes it when Vince watches the show for once, and it's like, the Street Profit guys, I want them. I don't want them to wrestle. I just want them to hang out backstage, but they're going to be on Raw now. So it's Triple H. He knows that his job is to create the stars that Vince is going to take, and then once he gets them, doesn't really know what to do with them. It's almost like Vince has that new toy and doesn't know what he's doing with it, and all of a sudden he breaks it before he even had a chance to really enjoy the toy. But I think that Triple H, being able to sit down at that meeting, he probably more than likely asked for Finn Balor. Like, you're going to put me on USA, you need me to go up against AEW, I'm going to need some name value, I need Finn Balor. And for me, honestly, as a Finn Balor fan, I'm sitting here, if I'm thinking that that side of the discussion is going down, I bet you Vince McMahon is sitting there like, that's all you want? You can ask for anybody on the roster and you ask for Finn Balor? Psh, you can have him. And I'm sure maybe Eric Bischoff doesn't know, but I'm sure Paul Heyman is like, God, you know, I could have used that guy. But I think that Paul understands that Triple H is going to need guys like that to carry the NXT brand if it's going to be a real number 3 for the company. So I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, it looks like Finn Balor against Adam Cole is going to be your first shot. His first big match on, I guess you could say, a takeover, or maybe they'll just put it on NXT television to make sure they have a good match to make people want to tune in, because the ratings have come out, and as of right now, it looks like If my math is right off the top of my head, it looks like AEW beat NXT by about 400,000 fans. And I don't really think there's any excuses that are out there other than maybe AEW is a new product that people want to see. They had to check it out for the first time. But NXT, even though it is a new brand on USA, they had the 1 week jump to get people there. So they don't really have a way of, complaining that people don't really know who they are because they drew a good number that WWE bragged about last week. So we'll see where we go from here. But definitely Finn Balor being that, flag-waving NXT fan, I think that they're set up for the future.